Okay, so here we are looking at my order of 3 hydrogen water products bought on Amazon in the UK. The top one, hydrogen water tablets, 120, 60 servings. You put 2 tablets in a glass of water, fast dissolving. You'll notice that these get 4.8 as the review, several hundred, 400 odd reviews, so you would think that's potentially a very safe purchase. I've looked at a number of different hydrogen water bottles. Many of them actually look very similar in terms of the casing and the photos used. This brand is Mutoh. It gets a 4.6 but only 15 reviews, so it's still very early stages. But if you look at the volume, 100 bought in the past month, so they are flying off the shelves, it seems. So hopefully this review will add a little bit of credibility to some of these brands. Then the bottom one, Wellness Extract H2 Molecular Hydrogen Water. Now interestingly, the middle one, the water bottle, claims an effectiveness. It claims to generate 4,000 parts per billion, which is quite a lot. It's quite a high concentration of hydrogen water, so if it achieves that, then great. I purchased this one. It's actually a little bit more expensive at £40 than some of the other similar hydrogen water bottles, many of which are £20, £25, £30 on Amazon. They don't all claim to get to this 4,000 parts per billion level. Whoops, let me just go back. I don't believe the water tablets, certainly the top, make any claim as to how concentrated, how effective they are. They just claim to produce hydrogen in your water. And I'm not sure, I think the one at the bottom does make a claim. It's only 8 parts per million. 8 parts per million is their claim rather than parts per billion. 4,000 parts per billion is the water bottles claim. So that is the 3 products. So let's take a look at the products and test them for their actual efficacy. And here we have the products in the flesh. On the left, the Vantine Molecular Hydrogen, 200 milligrams of magnesium. So they're effectively magnesium tablets that are supposed to dissolve in water and create a reaction that hydrogenates your water. But again, they don't claim any particular level of penetration, but they do claim the benefits. The hydrogen water is hydrogen consumed in water is an effective antioxidant. So they're saying that their product is a powerful antioxidant, so it suggests that it does get good penetration. I'll let you have a look at the tablets now. Two of these tablets are what are recommended, and they dissolve quite quickly, they claim. So that's the first product. Second is the water bottle. As I say, there's lots of these. They all look very similar. The casing and all look very similar. I paid a little bit more for this one, hoping that the quality would be there. The instruction manual was okay. Relatively good English for a Chinese supplier. This is a US manufacturer and supplier. I'm not sure. I think this might be a US product as well. These are the H2 molecular hydrogen. They do make a claim as to the penetration. I think it was 8 parts per million. Again, it's magnesium is their product. It's magnesium in the tablets, 200 milligrams per 2 tablets, 100 milligrams per tablet, and these are 80 milligrams per tablet. So in theory, 2 tablets here should be more than, so this one over here, this should be 200 milligrams per 2 tablets here. That should be more than twice the concentration of the 80 milligram single use tablets over here. This is distributed by a Canadian manufacturer, this one here actually. So let's give them a test. We will be using a titration method that's fairly well established. I believe the product is methylene blue, and the process, you put 6 millilitres of the treated water in here, and you drop drops of methylene blue, the hydrogen test reagent, and it should go clear. As long as there's hydrogen in this water, the blue will disappear. It will be, effectively react with the hydrogen and disappear. And the more drops that you put in, the more concentration of the hydrogen. So let's have a look. First of all, let us get our water samples ready. And we want to be comparable, so let's have a look. We're going to use good old-fashioned Scottish tap water. Can't quite get them all in the one picture. I'll try and make these roughly equivalent. And it's important that they're roughly equivalent because I'm going to be measuring the concentration of hydrogen in the water. So I'm putting in roughly the same measure. They all look pretty similar to me. We'll start off with, it takes a couple of minutes to run this in the bottle, so let's get that one started first. As you'll see, lots of lovely colours and bubbles. Interestingly, with these products, you do see in the instruction manual, the first couple of times you have to run it, you have to run them with hotter water, not boiling, but 50 to 60 degrees. Somehow helps activate the, the electrodes or the electrolysis. Then you run it with cold normal water thereafter. So it's running its cycle. So let's see what it does to just common Scottish tap water, cold water out the tap. And while that's going on, we're going to put over here with the Van Tyne, let's put 2 tablets as the recommended dose. These should be fairly quick to dissolve, and you can see them starting to slowly effervesce. Let's put them over here. You can really start to see them, like any good effervescence, bubbling away. And our last one is the H2 tablets. Now you only require one of these grey tablets for this one. Let's pop this in, and immediately you see the same effervescence. In fact, that was a lot more intense, that one, the effervescence. So all 3 are producing hydrogen in theory as we speak. I'll just pause the video and let them complete their cycles and pick up from there. Okay, we're a minute or so on, just a wee update because we're still mid-process. Well, that beep when the colour light's going out means that the water bottle in the middle has finished its cycle. As you can see, we're a couple of minutes on, lots of kind of effervescence on the right hand side. These ones on the left, which advertise very sort of quick to dissolve, do not seem to be that quick to dissolve, and they're still gradually bubbling away, but there's still a lot of tablet and very gradually effervescing on the left hand side. Let's take another pause. Okay, pretty much done. We've ended up with a very cloudy and almost a little bit sort of scummy top to that water. If I can just give it a wee sugar. But definitely fully effervescent. Mainly fully effervescent. There's a couple of white chunks at the bottom that haven't dissolved fully on the first tablet. Of course, there's nothing you can really see, it's just clear water in the middle. So let's compare and contrast. I'm just going to pour this back into the glass just to make it easier to titrate. Now, I say we're going to put 6 mils into the measuring container, and let's start with the Van Tyne molecular hydrogen. This was the product. It's got hundreds of reviews. It gets a 4.8 on Amazon, so it seems to be, and the packaging is quite professional. Whoops. So all we're going to do is put up to the red line. Need a little bit more. There we are. Thank you very much. And much you can see that, but we're going to just push these all back a wee touch so we can bring this a little bit more into shot. So each drop of blue dye that then goes colourless is equivalent to a set amount of hydrogen. I believe it is, let me just check. 1 drop is 100 parts per billion. 10 drops would be 1,000 parts per billion. And remember, one of the products, the bottle, advertised 4,000 parts per billion. Should be 40 drops. We'll go clear, but let's start with the hydrogen tablets on the left. Let's put 1 drop into that water, and now it should go clear if there is hydrogen present, and it's certainly the top is remain blue. We mix up the water, that water seems to be pretty blue. There's not much of a reaction going on in there, which would indicate there is absolutely no hydrogen, or next to no hydrogen in this water. So that test suggests product number 1, even though it gets the best reviews on Amazon. Let's put this to the back. Vantine molecular hydrogen, although it may contain magnesium as advertised, I'm quite sure it will. You can get far cheaper magnesium tablets, by the way, if that's what you're looking for, but it's supposed the health benefits is about the hydrogen in the water that it is evidently not producing. So, product number 1, I will just pause for a second and clean out this measurement device. Okay, that's been rinsed in clean Scottish tap water. So let's focus on product number 2, which is the Muto hydrogen water bottle, same protocol. If we fill up to the line, excuse my shaky hands, I do have Parkinson's, which is early stage, it's not too prevalent. Let's just touch the line, yep, I'm happy with that. So let's have a look at what happens with the Muto hydrogen water bottle sample. So this is product number 2 being tested again. Every drop of blue that disappears is 100 parts per billion of hydrogen in there, so that's the first drop in there. Let's see if that disappears and or remains prevalent. My goodness, that's the second product. I could argue, is it slightly making it clear, but no, it's definitely staying blue. So there's not a lot of hydrogen in that second product either. That water should go clear if there was even 100. Now that product claims that it produces 4,000 parts per billion. That test shows that there's less than 100 parts per billion present in that water if there's any hydrogen present at all. So that is another big fail. So I'll just pause that one and clean out the measuring device. Okay, there we have it. Product number 3, which is probably the one that aesthetically is the least attractive because it's got kind of a bit of sediment floating in the top, but this is the H2 molecular hydrogen, and it does claim about 800 parts per billion as the concentration that it will generate. So let's see how this product fares in comparison. So again, we want to fill it up to the line. There we go. And every drop that goes clear, let's move these two back and now focus on this product. So let's try 1 drop. So that's 1 drop, so that immediately disappears. That went straight clear. So it's at least 100 parts per billion. Each drop of titration is equivalent to 100 parts per billion. That's the second one, and immediately all this goes clear. Yep, so this product looks effective. There's definitely hydrogen. So that's 200 parts per billion. That's immediately went clear as well, so that's 3. Let's try 4, 5, these seem to be disappearing quite quickly. 6, 7, 8, these are getting gobbled up, so the chemical reaction suggests there's a lot of hydrogen in there. So that's 8 drops, so there's at least 800 parts per billion. Let me just pause just to have a reference. Okay, I was just looking at the claims, but let's keep going. That was 8, and pretty much the blue dye is a little kind of... Let's do 9, 10, 11, 12, oh, 12, that was probably 13. It's slightly approximate. I was trying to put in 12 there. Ended up going to 13. And you'll see it's even at 13 drops. It's went clear. So that's 1300, 1300 parts per billion. And I think most of the clinical trials, they talk about levels of 500 parts per billion being like a therapeutic type dose. So if we're up at 1300, that's well into that therapeutic range. There's a little bit of the blue just floating at the surface, 13 drops, but as you mix it, it does seem to dissipate. You can see that. So it's 13, so let's go to 14. Again, this is totally different to the first 2 products. It didn't even get rid of 1 drop of blue. And there, as it's taking a wee bit longer maybe, but it still goes clear. There's still a tiny hint of blue. 1400. That hint of blue is just gradually dissipating as well. So the titration method has shown there's probably 1400 parts per billion of hydrogen concentration in that water, which is a very effective dose. And it's just struggling now to fully get rid of the couple of hints of blue. I don't know how clear that is for you guys to see. I would say 14 drops, 1400. It seems to be about the... just tapping it to mix the water. And it's just holding on to some of the blue pigment. There it's not quite. So 1400 seems to be around the level. So I would imagine most of the hydrogen, if not all the hydrogen, is reacted. And this should keep it totally blue. This one... it's not getting rid of the blue very effectively. So 14 drops, it pretty much mopped up 1400. Yeah, and then it stops reacting, which is exactly what the first 2 products did in the first drop. So there you have it. We've only got 1 product that really produces hydrogen water out of the 3 purchased. And I'll just go back to recap on the products. Okay, so there are the 3 products we've just tested. The top one in the UK, 2769, gets the best reviews, 4.8, hundreds of people have reviewed it. We have just demonstrated it produces 0 hydrogen in your water. The Muto hydrogen water bottle advertises 4,000 parts per billion. Again, it's a fairly new product. It's rated highly, 4.6, but only 15 reviews, not that many reviews. We've shown that it does not produce a significant amount of hydrogen in the water compared to the Wellness Extract H2 molecular hydrogen water tablets. Get the lowest rating, 4.2, but we've just seen they are by far the most effective, producing around 1400 parts per billion. It may be slightly different from the 8 parts per million, which I guess would be 8,000 parts per billion. But certainly we were able to show that it generated 1400 parts per billion, which is a decent amount of hydrogen that I believe some of the clinical trials and research shows will have a beneficial therapeutic or health benefit. Hope that has been a useful review. I will post this online and probably post them against these Amazon purchases as well, just to encourage or warn off customers that may be otherwise duped by products that don't do what they say in the tin. Hope that helps. Thanks so much. Bye bye.